Now, in its 11th year, this is Gabnet. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey, hey everybody, live from Harlem in New York City. It's me, Alex Bennett, and this is the Ramble. Hey, who's there? Who is that? That's Mike Chisholm. Hello, Mike.
Nice to see you as always, my friend.
Calling us today, talking with us, by the way, by Zoom from our 51st state. It's very good to have you here.
That's right. I hear we're for sale. Although, if you ask Mike Myers, who was on SNL the other night as a guest star, he had a Canada is not for sale shirt on the good nights. It was fun to see that. He used to do that when he was on the show. Every once in a while, he'd show up in a Maple Leafs jersey, or there was one time, I believe it was during the Sharon Stone episode, where at the end, during the good nights, he wanted to sing "Oh Canada." When the Blue Jays won the World Series, he did something on SNL. He used to do that stuff all the time.
Well, can you sing us one verse of "Oh Canada"?
I used to sing "Oh Canada" before hockey games.
Okay,
Can you get more stereotypical than that?
Okay, so start off this.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land. There you go.
Is that all? There's more to it.
No, the next line. The next line is what we're experiencing right now. True patriot love in all of us command. It used to be in all thy sons command.
Yeah.
But about 5 years ago, they changed it to in all of us command.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, congratulations on being our 51st state. You know, I don't know why. You know, I never could quite figure out why we didn't make Puerto Rico our 51st state. They're Americans.
Yeah, what is up with that?
They're Americans.
Yes, they're Americans. They can vote, right?
Yes.
So,
But
I
they're
don't
not
understand.
a state. They wouldn't give it to Hawaii, which is out in the middle of the Pacific somewhere, and Alaska, which is up in the frozen north.
Yep.
You know, why not give it to Puerto Rico? There's some wonderful people there, and then they would get the advantages of the United States of America.
Well, what's the advantage to the government? Is it a haven of some sort? There's got to be a reason.
I don't know, but I don't know why they didn't make it a state. Why they suddenly said everybody in Puerto Rico is an American citizen. Congratulations. Well, yeah, but and you know. Well,
have you ever been to Puerto Rico?
Hmm?
Have you ever been to Puerto Rico?
Yes, I went to the Puerto Rican rock festival.
Okay. And how was it? What was your impressions of the place?
Well, there's a whole story that goes behind what happened at the rock festival. It really was a rock festival that kind of wasn't that terrific, you know.
Uh-huh.
But all the big bands were hired to come, and they all stayed at this hotel together. But they hated the hotel. Did not like the clientele because they all came wearing weird costumes.
Yeah.
Okay. Long hair.
Yeah.
You know, the hotel was not happy with them, so they said that if you walk after 7 o'clock at night in the hallways, you have to have on a dinner jacket. Well, these guys didn't own a dinner jacket. Some of them, this is true. The only guy that had that kind of thing was, I think, Alice Cooper. He had, like, you know, full-on tuxedos and everything because it was just a put-on for things, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So they were borrowing clothes from Alice Cooper so they could walk the hallways. And finally, they got so mad, war broke out between the rock groups and the hotel. And they started doing things like throwing furniture from their balcony down into the pool. I mean, it was a full-scale riot.
And you were there for it.
And I often wanted to make a movie about it. It was just amazing to be part of.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
A story should be written about that.
Yeah,
That's a perfect oral history topic right there, where you get a bunch of the different bands that were involved and they talk about their memories of it. Then you assemble it all together in an oral history format. That's a perfect oral history
Until I
story.
had just talked to you about it, I had forgotten it. You
Yep.
know, but boy, it was quite a night. The best part was Alice Cooper had a boa constrictor. And it disappeared.
Oh, perfect.
Couldn't find it anywhere. And Alice was worried because he used a boa constrictor in the act, right?
Yeah.
And there's a boa constrictor loose in the hotel. And they finally found it when a cleaning woman opened up a medicine cabinet.
Oh my God.
And what was coiled up in the medicine cabinet was this boa constrictor.
The story just gets better and better.
Yeah, it gets better and better. It was quite a weekend. I enjoyed myself. I felt that was but it was kind of like the precursor to the Fire Festival where nothing happened. But this was at least a fairly. They had decent groups and stuff, but people didn't come to it. I think that's what the problem was. Nobody wanted to go to Puerto Rico to see a rock festival.
I have friends who I've never been to Puerto Rico myself. I've heard great stories. I've heard San Juan's awesome, but I have friends who are in the pro wrestling business who have wrestled down there, and they've got some pretty wild stories about the Puerto Ricans and their enthusiasm for pro wrestling and similar riots and things like that would happen as well. It's a very fiery place. A lot of emotion on that island.
Oh yeah, and they're tired of being treated like shit. That's what they're tired of.
Yep.
Maybe they don't want to be part of the United States. They're a territory. They're a territory.
They're a territory.
I went out during the break and I got something because I figured you got a great jacket there. That's really a very nice jacket.
Yeah.
It's the last year of the David Letterman jackets. They gave out jackets every year because it was really cold in the Ed Sullivan Theater. Mm-hmm. And Shecky, as I said, had one from every year. I think he only wore the first year around.
Yeah, he wears the late night with David Letterman jacket right to the end. He would show me the one that he would.
Yeah. But anyway, so I thought, what could I do to top you? And this will top you. This is my favorite jacket, but I don't wear it a lot because I don't want it to. Do you see what's here? What it is? Wait a minute. Oh,
other sleeve.
Other sleeve. Here.
Other
we
one.
go.
There it is.
There we go.
What patch is that? I'm looking for the patch on that. What is that?
You
that the
don't know what
Statue of
it is,
Liberty?
and it's also, I think, on the back as well. Is it?
Oh gosh, what is that? Yeah. I don't know. I can't name the jacket.
You ready to be impressed?
Yes, sir.
Industrial Light and Magic.
Fantastic.
Yeah. This was their original logo. I think they still use it on some occasions.
Yep.
Magician with the gear. This is ILM on it. And I'm trying to remember who gave this to me. I did some work for Lucas Games, Lucasfilm Games, or Lucas Arts Games. That's it.
Yep.
And I did some voice work. And I knew some guys over there, and I was really impressed by one of their games. And they, as a kind of nice thing for me, they said, "Look what we got you," and it was an ILM jacket. So.
Yeah, that is fantastic.
That
logo that's one of their very, very, very original logos for sure.
Yeah.
That is so cool. I adore that.
Did I just top you?
What's that?
Did I just top you with jackets?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
But that's not difficult. Just ask my wife. Very easy to top me.
Yeah, but you know what? It's a great jacket.
Yep.
It's a warm jacket, and I've worn it all over the world. And I've gone to Europe, for instance, and there are people who knew what the jacket was. They knew what the logo was. They said,
My favorite thing.
They always came up to me and said, "Do you work for ILM?"
Yep.
You know.
My favorite thing is where when I wear one of my worldwide pants. I've got 8 of them, 8 of the
Yeah.
crew jackets, and whenever I wear one out, and someone pulls me aside and they stop me and they say, "Hey, where did you get that?" or is that what I think it is? Or I love that feeling. It only happens about once a month or whatever, but when it does happen, I love that feeling.
I almost brought my Penn and Teller jacket in.
I love Penn and Teller.
And it's good too, but I don't think it's as important as this is.
No, that one's badass. I love that. I love the classic Letterman jacket, and it's funny they're coming back into style. The kids, Alex, they call it the streetwear, and streetwear. These Letterman jackets of all sorts of different types, whether it's a sport team, whether it's even high school ones, whatever. They're coming back into style with the streetwear with the kids, and so I actually get street cred when I wear these things out, even though people don't necessarily
Well, what's
know
great
what they
about
are.
all these jackets is, first of all, they have the leather arms.
Yeah,
You know, this
absolutely.
is a warm jacket. I mean, you know, I can't wear it
Yep.
in summer, okay?
No.
You know, but it's got nice lining.
Yep.
Look at that, you know. And I got this. I was very proud of it. Yeah.
So I got to ask you this. Obviously, this is when you're during your time in San Francisco, because that's a lot of people don't realize necessarily. George Lucas's empire wasn't down in Southern California. It was in the Bay Area.
It was in
Skywalker Ranch.
Industrial
Did
Light
you ever make your way?
And Industrial Light and Magic was in San Rafael, which is right across the bay.
Yep.
And then he started his Lucas film. Or what was it? Was that the name of the company? Was
Yeah,
Lucasfilm?
Lucasfilm and ILM and all that.
Yeah,
They were all.
yeah.
And then
Lucasfilm
Skywalker
was the
Sound
name
as well.
of the company.
Yep.
And he started that on Lucas Valley Road. Now, it's not named after George Lucas. It was Lucas Valley Road when I was a kid,
Yep.
you know. And you go out Lucas Valley Road, and about halfway between that and the end of Lucas Valley Road is Skywalker Ranch.
Yeah.
And everything is there. And I've been in there because I had lunch there one day. Another day I went into work at the audio portion of
Skywalker Sound. Yep.
Skywalker Sound.
Yep.
But when you go there, everything has its own kind of it's like a movie set. You've got this big, beautiful home. That's got I can't even explain how beautiful it is. And then you've got Skywalker Sound, which is they built a vineyard
Yep.
in front of it, so it's kind of like a home in a vineyard.
Yeah.
And then you go inside, and it's every piece of extraordinary modern equipment you can lay your hands on. Then there's another place. It's a barn. They had a pond in the middle, or a lake they call it, the middle. And there was a big barn, and in the barn were all the props. That was the what do you call it? The archives
Yep.
of the films that Lucas had done. And inside, I went inside, but inside they had all things like, you know, the thing that Indiana Jones picks up, the idol, you know, stuff like that. Although they had that inside. They had that inside in a, you know, I'll tell you what, when you go in, I went in to have lunch, and you go into the big house, and it's amazing. It's a library, the stairs that goes up to a big stained window. I mean, it's just gorgeous. So I have lunch, and after lunch, I start wandering a little bit. They let you wander around. And I come to this big case, okay, and it's got the inside, it's got the idol that Indiana Jones picked up. But it also had Indiana Jones's hat and his whip and a bunch of other props from other films.
Yep.
And then finally, the only thing that actually impressed me, for some reason, he had all of the badges of the Keystone Cops from the silent era.
Oh, that is really cool.
And I was in awe of that. I walked away and I told the guy who brought me there, I can't remember who he was now, just, you know, I had lunch there with Lucas, having lunch over in the corner.
People would talk about that all the time. It's almost a commissary, and oh yeah, there's George over there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It was just, it was terrific. It was just terrific.
Yep.
But anyway, was great to be there. And I went over there, I say, on one occasion because somebody took me out to lunch, and on another occasion because I went there to record what was not an audition, it was a temp track for the movie. I'm trying to remember which one it was. It was the one that, oh God, I can't remember the movie now, but it opens up with a talk show host doing a talk show on the radio.
Okay.
And they wanted me to do that, but as a temp track that they could use while they were editing the film.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yep.
And after I did it, the guy said to me, "This is so good. I'm going to tell them they should hire you to do it. You know, it's perfect. You sound just like a talk show host should sound."
Yep.
I said, "That's because I am."
It makes sense. Yeah, you are one.
And the director who was, I don't know, the woman who did The Hurt Locker, I can't remember her name now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bigelow, Catherine Bigelow?
Catherine Bigelow. She listened to it and she said, "Nah, I don't like it." And they went out and got an actor to do it. And when an actor does it, it's completely different. It doesn't sound authentic, you know.
Couldn't agree more. Yep.
But I went, oh, okay. I want to see who's going to play me now, you know.
That's right.
The only other time I did Comedy Tonight at PBS for like 5 seasons, and in the 6th season they replaced me with Whoopi Goldberg. And I said she looks nothing like me.
It was interesting to see her on the Oscars last night. She was wearing a dress and Oprah was wearing a suit. It was the opposite of how it should have been, you'd think. But,
well, I mean, has Whoopi lost weight or she gained? What is it? She was
looked
hiding.
like it. And she was all tatted up. I'd never seen all the tattoos on her and stuff. Her collarbone had all these tattoos and things. I'd never seen that before.
Yeah. Nice woman, by the way. I have to tell you that.
Well, stand-up roots, like a lot of people don't realize. Like she was, for a time, she was considered one of the top female stand-ups that was out there.
She was a big actress too.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely.
I met up with her. The only time I ever really had a talk with her was at Bob Goldthwait's wedding, which I went to. And I met up with Whoopi, and I said, you know, you got to come on my show sometime. And she said, "I'd love to." She said, "If I still have a career." You know, it was that old thing about actors that they're always so insecure. I don't care. Yeah. You could be Paul Newman, and you say, "Well, if I make another movie," because every time somebody told me once, when you're an actor and you do a movie, the last day you have to physically sign out and leave.
Yep.
Okay, it's a tradition.
Yep.
And he said to me, I can't remember who said to me that it was a minor actor. He says, "You don't know every time you sign out if that isn't the last time you're ever going to work in a movie."
Yeah, I mean, but it's funny. You'd see someone like Whoopi.
Patrick Stewart said to me, I said, "Come back to the show sometime soon." He says, "If I still have a career."
Patrick Stewart said this.
And he said this after he was, on Star Trek and did the Star Trek movies and everything else. He still said, if I can make another movie.
See, that's an interesting one to me too, for the same reason as Whoopi, because with Whoopi, or someone who like I think about this with Joe Rogan. He used to talk about the being on news radio and all that, but he's a stand-up. And he was like, "Oh, this didn't work out. I just go to stand-up, and stand-up's the place to go." Whoopi could always go back to stand-up and always have a place.
Yeah, Rogan couldn't go back to stand-up because Rogan couldn't go back to stand-up because Rogan was a lousy stand-up. He was a good host of game shows, but that was about it. Yeah.
But it's the mentality. It's the mentality of somebody who comes from stand-up and they're in that world, whether they're known or not known. If they're a road stand-up, making money or whatever, which Rogan was, which Whoopi Goldberg, of course, was, they could always go back to stand-up very easily. Sir Patrick Stewart, the theater, a savant in the theater, could always go back to theater. And it's interesting to hear that switch over to becoming that insecure actor that you talk about for those two, because those two
you built up to a certain point and you want to stay at that point.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So, I mean, that's the problem.
That makes sense. Yeah, it just, but yeah, that insecurity, I feel bad for those people who are
Well,
just
when Stewart
constantly.
said that to me, I went, "What?"
Yeah, yeah,
I said, "You don't ever think you're going to work again?" He says, "This is a movie business. You don't know."
you know what? And that probably shows as to why he is so active in these fan communities, whether it's Star Trek or whether it's Professor Xavier from the X-Men. He's really good to the fan base. And I bet you he's really good to the fan base
I think
because
he
still has
appreciates
gratefulness
him. Yeah,
because of it.
I remember him as a very nice guy. I mean, I liked
Yeah.
him a lot. You know, and
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. But Whoopi, again, there are some of these people like Eddie Murphy. Like, I would love to see Whoopi's take in stand-up. It would probably be very political now compared to what it was, back in the day. But I always really enjoyed her stand-up. Eddie Murphy, same thing. He keeps talking about wanting to go back to stand-up, and I would love to see him do that.
Actually, to be honest with you, Eddie Murphy was not a very good stand-up
No?
when he was starting out. That's why
Yep.
he went to sketch comedy. You know,
Yep.
when you do sketch comedy, you're not really meant to be a stand-up.
Yep.
Okay, and where Lorne got all his people wasn't he said didn't go to a comedy club and say hire that guy. He would go to places like Second City and
The
the Groundlings out in
Yep.
California, and that's where he got most of his people. Oddly enough, that's why there's so many Canadians that have been on the show.
I know a lot of Canadians.
But
and that
he
year,
wasn't
yeah,
really
like
a
Phil Hartman.
comedian, and when he
Yep.
did those two comedy films, he was playing the part of a comedian. That's material that was written for him by people,
Yep.
and he did it. But I never thought of him as a stand-up, and he never was a stand-up.
Eddie?
Yeah.
Well, when he was a teenager, he would go out and do a lot of shots in the New York area. Like, so he came up as a stand-up. There's no question he came up as a stand-up. But yeah, he honed, like, the impressions that he did. I mean, in the sketches that unbelievable, and then translating that back into a stand-up act. Like he did a lot of Bill Cosby on stage. I mean, but a lot of these impressions came from the sketch world. That so I could see that.
Yeah. But he was a sketch comic better than he was anything else. So but the fact that they can go back to comedy, I don't know if they want to go back to stand-up comedy because it's been so long since they did it. It's like I've discussed this with Larry Bubbles Brown. It's like a muscle. It needs to be flexed, needs to be worked. And you don't just do stand-up comedy and stop doing it for maybe 20 years and say, I'll go back and do stand-up comedy, because you've lost the muscle, And you really have to go back on the road by yourself, doing night after night before you go back and do comedy, So, people, there are a lot of people in the business who are stand-up comedians, and they never go back to it because it's too much work to go back to it. You've already put in all the work you needed to do movies.
Well, like I look at what Judd Apatow did.
Judd
to go back.
Apatow
He did exactly what you're talking about. Like he went and reignited, started doing the reps of the month, like local clubs, and then he took the act on the road, and that's how he got back into it
lousy
again.
stand-ups wind up going on to great things.
Yep.
Not as comics though.
Yep.
Larry David.
Yep.
Was a comic that was so bad that every time he got on stage, people walked out. Because his comedy was so obtuse and it was so weird, they couldn't get it. And if you go back and look at any of his stand-up stuff, you go, that's terrific, that's brilliant.
Yep.
But he wasn't thought of as brilliant in those days, so he gave up on stand-up. And then
Woody Allen.
Then he went and became a writer on SNL. And like most people who have either worked SNL or who work for a short time on SNL all act out, they say, that's the worst experience I've ever had in my life.
Yep. It's well with Judd, working with Gary Shandling, all those years was a huge. He was a collaborator, and as a showrunner, he's got that sensibility.
Well, then you become a writer, then you become
Yep.
all the other things, and which Judd Apatow was very good at.
Yep. Yep.
So you don't just say I'm through. You can't. But it's very hard to go back to comedy if you haven't done it.
Yeah, but watching Judd on stage now, like having gone back and doing those reps, it's like, okay, yeah, like he's a great comic who has all the timing, he has all of the things.
Yep.
But it took a long time for him to get that muscle back.
You know what they
talking
say?
about.
The most important thing in comedy is to timing.
Yes.
As I stutter through the word timing, you get it?
I know.
That's the joke. Okay.
And
Anyway.
Conan didn't have it as far as you're concerned at the Oscars.
No.
Yep.
I thought Conan was, I never liked Conan that much. There were too many things he did that showed that he wasn't comfortable where he was.
Yeah.
And I couldn't watch it. He wasn't funny to me.
Yep.
Doing all kinds of shtick with, his body and so on. And it's I don't know. It's just, probably for your generation, kid.
Oh, we love him.
Okay.
Absolutely love
Anyway, hey, listen, we better call this quits for now. Let's do it again. This is really terrific. I love talking with you.
Right back at you, man. Thank you so much for letting me be on the Ramble. Can't wait for the next one.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Chisholm. He's a Canadian, but we'll give him a pass on that.
Now, in its 11th year, this is Gabnet. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Yeah, there was Mike Chisholm. We love talking with Mike, and we have fun with him. Anyway, hello, everybody. How are you? Good to see you. I am, let me see here. I got to get some things set up here so that I have it. Oh, there we go. Okay, we got two people waiting to come on here. Two people. Two. That's all. Two. What have I done to you? What have I done to make you mad at me? Okay, I don't know. Anyway, let me bring them in. Okay, here we go. I will go admit all, and then I will do this. Okay, and here they come, ladies and gentlemen. There's Kevin, and there's Josh, and there's me. Okay, and that's the bunch of us. Hi, hello, everybody. How are you?
How you doing?
I'm doing okay, and yourself?
I'm good, thank you.
You're good? I can't. You're a little low.
Volume-wise, you mean? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I did have the microphone way over there. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. It was.
You're in a much more echoey room than you usually are.
Really?
Are you in another room?
No, I did move the room around a lot today. I'm in a different spot.
Oh, you moved the room around a lot.
I'm in the same spot, but I moved a bunch of furniture out and some different furniture in.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Long story.
The
Does
other
it sound okay? I can adjust if it doesn't sound.
It's okay if you just move the mic closer to yourself.
Okay.
It could be.
If you notice anything?
Are
Let me
you
know.
sure your microphone is what is being? Tap on your microphone a second. Oh, that's what the problem is. Your camera speaker microphone is what it's picking you up through.
The computer, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll work on it. I'll work on it here while you're talking.
Yeah.
I did have to change it the other day for something now that I remember. So I'll
Yeah, but that's what it is. It usually causes problems. But anyway, hello, Kevin. How are you? Oh, your mic isn't working.
How's mine sound now?
Now yours is better. Talk to me.
Is that any better?
Yeah.
Yeah, I switched it back to the actual mic. My bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a Microsoft Teams meeting the other day.
There it is.
Okay, and Kevin's got his mic working. Now let's make sure mine does. There we go. Okay.
All right, well, show's over.
Show's over. See you later, guys. How you doing?
Good. How about you? How's your cold?
It's still, I've still got it. I've still, now part of it is Today, you know what our pollen count was? Our pollen count was 11 and a half out of 12. So that causes something. Plus, you know, we have air conditioners in some of the windows. And then we have up above the window is up so that stuff can come through there. You get what I'm saying? So I think the pollen is coming through there. So
Yes, it is. It will find a small little slot and it'll come through.
yeah, and I've been sniffling today, and my eyes have been burning, and you know whatever. But what the hell? I took a walk today. I haven't been taking many walks, and I took a walk today. We walked down the block and back, and I was exhausted. What the hell is that? Oh, I know what that is. Okay, I don't need that. Okay,
Russians.
huh?
Russians.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, nothing much happening. You know, it's still the stock market still goes down and down and down. Pretty soon, none of us will have any money left, and this jerk doesn't seem to want to do anything about it because he didn't do anything wrong, did he?
Yeah, he hired the guy that's in the Fed and he wants to get rid of him now.
He did hire him while he was president last time, right?
I think he did. Didn't he appoint him?
Yeah. And he doesn't have to go because he has a 10-year term. Guaranteed. Because the Fed is supposed to be, as with certain posts in this in the government, it's supposed to be immune from politics. And But he said, they said, are you going to resign? He said, no. And then, of course, Trump starts making statements. Well, I didn't like him anyway. I didn't like this guy. This guy, you know, I hate the way he answers everything with an insult, you know? And a lot of good people get caught in the cross draft on this, and they shouldn't be. You know, what's wrong with Powell? You know, this looks like a nice enough guy, you know. And I think
does not conform to the Trumpness.
Well, what is the Trumpness? The Trumpness is
never know.
Is kissing
That's
Trump.
just up to him that certain day.
See when you look at the government right now, and you look at the people in the government. What are they most afraid of?
Getting fired.
Donald Trump. So they kiss his ass. I mean, I love those meetings where they start off the meetings with everybody telling him how wonderful he is. And I'm going, that's bizarre. You know? That is just bizarre. Makes no sense whatsoever. So, I don't know. Your take on it, Josh?
I mean, that's the way they do it. You know, his problem with Powell is not, you know, policy or anything, you know, like that. It's just personal, right? I mean,
isn't he trying to now maybe make it look like it's Powell's fault? All these problems with money right now.
Well, I haven't heard anything for that. I'm not sure. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, that's
well, he'll never admit it's his fault.
Right. You know, I mean, that's what I'm saying. His problem with Powell is obviously it's just personal. I mean, he didn't agree with everything that he said exactly 100%, no exceptions.
Well, hasn't he even said that he didn't think that Trump was right in the things he was doing?
Well, not too sure. I mean, the comments that I heard that Powell made, I heard just a few where he just said that, you know, the tariff situation had caused the Federal Reserve to rethink some of their economic, I don't know, like predictions, you know, forecasting and things.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that because the tariffs were much higher than anticipated in their last go around when they did these calculations, since the tariffs are much higher, they therefore believe that uh, the effects of the tariffs will be much higher.
Mm-hmm.
So they have raised the chance of recession higher. like the cost of living higher. They've made everything go up. So obviously Trump doesn't like that because you know, it's not supposed to work that way according to Trump. The way that it's supposed to work is Trump is supposed to say something, and then every single person in the government, in whatever branch, because he thinks that everybody in the government works for him, is supposed to absolutely 100% say, yes, sir, you are correct right away. We'll get that done for you today. And then that's it. But that is not how government works. It's not how our government works anyway, and it's not how it was supposed to work.
How do you like, what I was going to say is, how do you like the fact that it seems like he blames everything on anybody else but himself? And then when things don't go his way, like for instance, the latest thing was the IRS, okay, who's going to go after certain colleges and try and take away their tax exempt status. And who's doing that? Who's ordering that? Trump is ordering the guy he put in as the head of the IRS to do that. I mean, isn't this weaponizing the entire government against all your enemies and all the people that don't agree with you? I mean, the stupidest one of all is AP not getting any accreditation if any accreditation. What was the word? What was I looking for? I lost my.
Well, he's not allowed into the. He's got no
the AP is not being allowed into the press room because they won't call it the Gulf of America. Now, come on.
Right.
Isn't that the choice of a news organization is what they want to call anything?
Yeah.
You know? When I lived in Texas, do you know what we used to call the Gulf of Mexico?
Probably the Gulf of Mexico.
No, we called it the Gulf.
Yeah, a lot of people in that area do. I lived in Florida for a while. I mean,
yeah, you call it the Gulf. You don't call it the Gulf of Mexico.
Want to know did you live on the Gulf side or the other side?
If he had said, look, I think we should start referring to this thing as the Gulf because there are a lot of countries that surround it. I would agree with that. I don't think that's a bad idea. But Gulf of America? Yeah, give me a break.
Yeah, that's the other thing is even some of the stuff that, and he's always been this way, that they come up with that are not all that consequential or whatever.
Yeah, consequential.
Right. They can't just come out and sort of say it in a reasonable way. They always have to say it with like this finger in your chest. We're going to do it, by God, we fixed it, kind of way, and it's like, okay, man, whatever, like, okay.
Yeah, well, if you don't report the news the way Trump wants you to report the news favorably to him,
right, then
the FCC is going to go after you.
Well, you see how he treats CNN in the press conferences.
Oh,
when Caitlin tries to ask a question, he sits there and says, "Well, you're a lousy question. We're not going to listen to you now."
He also says, "Oh, you're
fake news.
But you don't have ratings anymore."
Yeah,
and things like that. And the only thing I disagree with Caitlin on, what I would have done when he did that is I would have said,
"Fuck you."
No, I wouldn't have said that. I would have said, "Mr. President, you're being rude."
Yeah.
And it's very hard for him to come back on that.
Nobody does that. Nobody.
Yeah, Mr. President, you're being rude. She probably is afraid of losing her access to the president.
Well, yeah, obviously.
And I don't think that she should be. I like her a lot, and I like her because she's got guts.
Yeah.
And I just felt after he did that whole thing with, oh, you're losing newscast and blah, 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 blah. She should have just gone, Mr. President, that's just rude. Do you have to be rude? That should be the question. Do you have to be rude?
I'm waiting for one of them to ask something like that, and nobody has a huevos to do it, I guess. I don't know.
Well, a few people are starting to, to look to not give in to him. I like the
Yeah.
fact that Harvard wouldn't give in to him. I hate the fact where right up the street, Columbia kissed his ass. He shouldn't be allowed to get away with this because I'm telling you, Columbia, he got you to cave. He's going to try to get you to cave again. That's what bullies do. But if you stand up to bullies, they're not going to try it again. They may try and sue you and do everything else, but he's
running the country like we've always said, that he's running the country like it's a business, like it's a company.
Well,
he thinks he's the boss, and whatever the boss says goes. And if you don't like it, well, you're going to have to go through hell to get it done.
Well, he is trying to run it like, he always talks about it like, we're going to buy Greenland.
Right.
What? I mean, you don't
if you look at him like that, and I have a funny thing about studying the guy, just sitting there watching him and seeing what he does. And it's sad the way he's doing it. He's not only sounding like a boss of a company, he's sounding like an asshole boss of the company, which there are many of those. And he's also sounding a lot like somebody from Germany.
He's sounding like he's also sounding like a mobster.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
you
can just sit there and watch him and see that.
Yeah.
And you can see the people around him, scratching at his kneecaps.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, it's
I just don't know how long he can get away with it. He's ruining this country day by day, literally just tearing it fucking down.
Yep.
Well, I mean, and he's not admitting to it.
No, everything he's doing is right. The groceries are up, the eggs are up, everything's up, everything's looking great. What's that red mark on the stock market?
Excuse me, the costs are down. The costs on eggs are down. I went into the grocery store today. They're selling 5, dozen. 3.
5 dozen.
3 for $15. 3 dozen.
Well, there were $19 at Costco for 5 dozen the other day. So
for 5 dozen?
I checked for you.
Yeah, well, it's $15 for 3 dozen cartons.
Let's see,
When I say not a 3 dozen carton, but 3 dozen cartons, and it was $15. Now it used to be 2.5 when the last time I bought some eggs there.
They were. Let me see here.
This was for the jumbos, by the way. I have to give it credit for that. But
that was bound to come down anyway. The flu is gone. It had nothing to do with the economy.
Yeah, but it hasn't come down. It hasn't
flu.
It hasn't come down that sufficiently.
The bird flu. That's what it had to do with.
Yeah, but
nothing to do with the economy.
Is the bird flu
$7.69 a dozen at Costco Sunday? $7.69 for a dozen and $19.19 for 5 dozen.
Wow, that's still a high price, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. They usually go for $3 or $4, right?
No, they were going for like $2.50, $3 for a dozen at the most.
Tax on it.
Huh? Yeah,
California, you got to add tax to it.
Yeah, but I mean, that was he claims eggs are down 50%.
Yeah,
no way. But
they said today gas was down to $1.98 in some states. Oh, where?
What state?
He said that? His people
he said that today, yeah. When he was having his little cabinet show with the
is there another one of those? Huh?
Yeah, with Italy today.
Oh, Italy, that was in the Oval Office. By the way, have you seen what he's done to the Oval Office?
Yeah, he put his little airplane on the table.
No, but he's over gold the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
There were like statues, gold statues, and there was gold, whatever. And it's gold gilding because he says he doesn't like gold paint. They never can make it look like gold. In any event, he has completely screwed up the Oval Office. It looks ugly.
Looks like his bathroom.
It looks like Trump Tower. You know.
Gold is trading for 33.41 an ounce today, so he's spending money.
Well, you know why gold's so high lately?
Yeah, because the dollar's so shitty.
Yeah, people are going out and investing in gold.
Yep.
So, you know, what the hell? You know, so.
Dave Devine or John Devine, whatever the hell his name is, was right, huh?
Who?
That guy that does all those gold commercials.
Oh, I know who you're talking about, the actor.
Devine, yeah.
Was it Divine? No, it's I forget his name now. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know, gold isn't a bad thing for you to invest in. I know people who bought gold coins over the years, and they're probably worth more right now than they were when they bought them.
Yeah,
My friend Steve used to buy gold coins all the time, you know. So, you know, it certainly is not bad, but it would be better if the American dollar were worth something right now.
Yeah, that counts a little bit more than all that shit.
Yeah, exactly. Hello, Charlie.
Hey,
How you doing?
pretty good.
You're a little late tonight. Why? Were you doing
I was
something?
umpiring, yeah.
Oh, I thought maybe you were seeing your girlfriend.
No, I would have been on time if I wasn't umpiring.
Can we make fun about the girlfriend now that you have a girlfriend?
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah. Huh?
You can do whatever you want. I'm happy.
Yeah. Well, you didn't think that would happen to you at this. Well, you didn't think that would happen to at this point in your life, right?
No, I've given up.
Actually, I didn't either. In fact, I met Marjorie, about, God, I'm trying to think. When I first came here to New York, and I was first starting on Sirius XM, so that's almost 20 years ago, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I met up with her, and I had to be 65 at the time, I guess. You know, and I figured, you know, that's it for me. You know, where am I going to find another woman? And then I went and I joined J-Date. And she wrote me.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, well, what the hell? And to this day, I looked at the picture she sent, looks nothing like her.
She just wanted your autograph on the bottom of the check. That's all she wanted.
My autograph on the bottom of a check.
Right. She wanted you to write her a check as a fan and sign it, and she'd, you know, Alex Bennett, and she'd be happy.
You figured that was the only thing she saw in me, huh?
Probably.
She said she didn't know that you were a famous radio
She didn't know I was famous, no.
Oh, she didn't? Oh, wow.
No.
She had no idea.
Oh.
That was something I always used to keep kind of quiet, you know?
Unless they listen to the radio.
Well, yeah, but I mean, usually people who would come and hit on me because I was on the radio, I wouldn't go out with.
Sure.
I'm serious.
I got a little cocaine at home. You're Alex Bennett. Let's go have sex. I'm really beautiful. Okay. You talked me into it.
Well, that's why you rejected me, huh?
You don't honestly believe I could score on my own.
I do believe you can score on your own.
Okay.
Especially when you were younger.
It's a little hard to score
like
now.
65.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm that age now, and I'm getting women hit on me, but I'm not really, I don't know. I just really don't want to date. You know, I'm happy being alone.
Well, it's also because on a hot day, they consider you shade.
Absolutely. I haven't heard that in a while. That's good.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm hard to kidnap, too.
Yeah,
You know?
you're very hard to kidnap.
When you're my size, you're hard to kidnap.
Yeah. But anyway, so I mean, no, Marjorie and I felt very, very good that I had found somebody at that point, you know?
It seems like she likes you.
We get along. Yeah, we get along. You know, it's not that we aren't without our little disagreements now and then, you know?
That happens whenever you live with somebody.
Yeah. By the way, her mouth is slowly coming back to usefulness.
Good.
So, no, she it's come back considerably, her mouth, which hasn't been working for the last couple of days. And she was in great pain. But she went to the dentist, and the dentist said, put some hot compresses on it, and, you know. And now most of her mouth is working. The back teeth aren't settling fine, but, you know. I said to her, when are we going to stop getting all these weird little ailments and we can go on a vacation? You know, when am I going to be able to start walking again?
You're dead. Don't you? It's like, you know, you hear all these people say, "Oh, you work your whole life. At 65, you can retire, and you and your wife can travel and enjoy the golden years."
Yes, the gold. Yeah, who
golden
named them the
years
golden
bullshit.
years?
The golden years are when you're 45, not when you're 60.
Yeah, not 65.
Right,
Yeah.
At
right.
65, you got more time in the doctor's office than you would on a cruise.
Yeah.
I mean, the golden years is bullshit.
Well, I'm planning on trying to take a cruise.
Oh, I think that's good. I think you have somebody that you're compatible with, and you're married to, and I think you guys should go on a cruise.
Wait a minute. I love the way you put that. I'm compatible with and I'm married to.
Right.
Isn't it important that I somehow feel compatible to them and married them for that reason?
Oh, there's a reason. Yeah, you kind of feel that way about Tony, don't you?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Hi, Tony.
Hey, what's up?
What's up with you?
And I'm so tired of this Trump, Alex. I can't. I turn him off now. He lies all the time. Food is down. How is food down? I just went to the supermarket. Give me a break.
Yeah. What were you paying for eggs before all this started?
You know, I think I was going to Key Food. I remember them getting excited when they were only like $6. Now all of a sudden,
wait a minute, $6 for a dozen?
Yeah, well, this is a couple of years. This is when Biden was in office.
$6 for a dozen?
Yeah.
Dozen?
Do you know?
No.
I swear to God, I'm going to take a picture and put it on your Facebook page. The house down the block. I was going to walk to the post office, drop my boxes. They got chickens in the yard. I swear to God, I'm going to run into the fence. I'm like, I don't believe this. Chickens back here. Yep.
There's going to be a chicken flu out. There'll be a chicken flu outbreak in your neighborhood.
Alex, is that legal to have chickens in Queens?
Yes. Well, I don't know. In Queens, I mean, nothing's legal in Queens.
Right.
I just think I fucking chickens.
I imagine it's your house. You can have chickens. You can have a little chicken coop on the back. You know.
I didn't know.
Can you have chickens where you are, Kevin? Oh, he couldn't hear me. Can you have chickens out where you are, Kevin?
Yes.
Yes. How about you, Josh?
Oh yeah, a lot of people around here have them.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Alan? Can you have chickens where you are?
I don't know. You know,
it's an apartment house, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't think. Yeah.
It's not an apartment house. It's a house.
It's a house. Oh, okay.
The house. I mean, I don't know. I've never wanted to raise chickens. I eat eggs.
But there's no law. There's no law where you live against having chickens.
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay. How about you, Jeff? Jeff?
My sister, her husband now, I guess, he was making chickens.
Wait a minute, he was making chickens? How do you do that?
He was growing.
You sit on an egg for a while? What do you do?
I don't know. What the hell I know. But guess what? All of a sudden, some other animals came by, started eating.
There you go.
The chickens, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, the chickens don't last too long.
They don't last too long in your neighborhood. Okay. How about you, Charlie? Could you grow chickens where you're in an apartment house, right?
I'm in an apartment. The apartment complex wouldn't allow it. But where my girlfriend, she's got a house, and she had lots of people in that neighborhood have chickens.
Really? See, people are doing it.
I just never seen it.
There's more regulations against roosters than there are chickens because they're noisy in the morning.
There's a guy in my development lives across the street from.
I mean, that's what a shotgun's for, right, Kevin? That shuts the rooster up.
There you go.
Okay.
There are some of those here too.
All right. Well, anyway, so I
Yeah, I just never seen it. I was walking. I said, I think I heard chickens in this guy's fucking yard. I says, there it was. And I see them. I said, oh shit. I told my brothers, like, I says, I'm telling you, I says, this guy's got chickens on the corner. I'm gonna take a photo
I
of
don't know.
it.
I'm trying to think. What would cost more?
Is it hard to make?
Buying a bunch
Yeah.
of chickens and then having to feed them,
Yeah.
I know.
And clean up after.
and then how many eggs do you get as a result of that? You only get one egg a day from each chicken. They don't lay 2 or 3 eggs, I don't think.
I don't know. I mean, is it really worth all that time unless he's killing them and cooking them? I don't know what the
I
hell.
think they lay multiple eggs. I don't think
I think if you get certain ones, like maybe 2 a day.
Really, 2 a day?
Yeah.
That many?
Yeah.
Yeah, some, not all, but some. I mean, I've worked with a few people that had, a dozen or 20.
Well, wait a minute. Don't you have to have a rooster too?
I don't think.
Or do they do? See, this is what I
You just gotta feed them.
I don't know anything.
don't fertilize those
Okay,
eggs.
I don't know anything about chickens. Okay, so elucidate. You don't need a rooster in order for a chicken to lay an egg. But
No,
what do
I
you
mean-
need the rooster for then?
Cockfights.
I was just saying.
Yeah,
I find it weird.
I've
I
worked with
never
a couple
seen-
people that had their own free range chickens, and they would give me eggs sometimes. All the time.
Yeah, but-
I mean, the one guy that I knew, he always sold it to me. They were $2.50 a dozen. It was 4 for $10. And that was homegrown eggs, like fresh eggs or whatever. So
Yeah.
it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, a guy down here I used to get like 18 for $5.
Yeah,
Better than
the feed's not that much. Like
And you
Tractor
can actually
Supply
grow
and-
feed. I mean, some of it you feed
Yeah.
them green stuff, and it really makes them.
Right. Yeah, and
Get out
like
the
Tractor
eggs.
Supply places and stuff around here, they sell it pretty big in bulk. So, I mean, they just have, they live well outside the city, out in the county. So they
Years ago, my parents
just
had a
keep them cooped
friend.
up and put a heat lamp in there for the winter and let them walk around and do whatever chickens do, I guess.
Years ago, my parents had a friend, and he knew this guy quite well, and he had a house out in the San Fernando Valley, and in the back he had a chicken coop.
So that's
And he
something-
would
is
go
that
back there and
country?
get eggs like crazy. I mean, piss off a lot of
Yeah.
chickens, but
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I could tell a little bit of difference, I guess, but some people really think that the, free range chickens at your house, their eggs taste a lot better, or whatever. And they lay like different color eggs and,
Yeah.
sometimes
I
a
used
little
to-
bit bigger, stuff
I
like
used to get
that.
duck eggs too mixed in with them.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that are really big into those, like duck eggs and like.
Well, how do you mix in duck eggs? Do
Goose
ducks?
egg.
They have ducks, and they just
They have
throw
ducks
them
too,
all in
yeah.
the same pile, and here's your eggs. You'll get some ducks. You'll get.
See,
some
I don't know any of this stuff. All I know is I saw the chickens, and he would
They're
take
a
me
little
out, and he would
richer.
get the eggs, and that was it.
They're just
Yeah,
a
I
hair
mean,
richer.
and
can
I
notice.
live in a pretty rural area, so it's not much different than a supermarket. You can buy your eggs from the same people who you buy your meth from around here.
Yeah, there you go.
Don't you get tripped or whatever.
One-stop shop,
Stuff like
right out of the gas station.
sell meth and eggs in the same spot. I mean,
Yeah, while you're getting gas. Yeah, there you go.
Meth
Come
and
crack an
eggs.
egg.
That seems to make a lot of sense, doesn't it?
well, yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Oh,
Can't you make wine?
Yep.
Oh,
Make
it's-
wine. You can make beer.
Yeah.
Shit. During COVID, I used to make loaves of French bread.
Yeah, I know a few people
That's
that
because I
have,
was bored.
make their own alcohol. Yeah, I do know a couple people do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I used to make beer
Used to make your own beer.
long time ago.
A lot of people like making their own beer, and you're allowed to, right? It's nothing
Yeah,
illegal
up
about
to
it.
a certain amount.
Well, what happened during Prohibition? Could you still make your own beer at home?
No,
No.
I don't think so.
illegal. Consumption.
Unless you
is-
sell it, right? You can probably make it, or does it matter?
Well, there were exceptions during Prohibition. Christian Brothers Winery were allowed to make wine because they were a religious organization, and they could
I think
sell
they
their
still
wine.
had like medicinal use of alcohol. I think I believe during Prohibition there were some prescription alcohol was like a prescribed treatment for certain I don't
Whiskey for
know what
teeth.
for, but yeah, it was. I mean, for like whatever a doctor said. I think they had some medicinal use.
Yeah.
So there were still some like manufacturers that had a medicinal license for it or whatever. But
My mom swore by blackberry brandy to fix your stomach ache.
Really?
He used to give it to us.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Give
Like
you a little thing of
there were
blackberry
some
brandy.
yeah, there were some medicinal purposes and stuff like that for it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
doctors prescribed it, as far as I remember.
Wow. Okay. Well, I don't
She
remember.
went to her
I-
deathbed with it. She got busted snuggling it into the senior home.
Yeah, I think
They
the
aren't supposed to have alcohol there, but they found some in the back. She goes, "That's for my stomach ache."
Yeah.
Prohibition ended, I think, about 6 years before I was born. I was born in 1939, and it ended when? About 33, something like
I
that?
think so. Let me see that. That documentary was good on it.
Something like that.
Yeah. It was 33, I think.
That's echo.
So whenever the amendment was.
Well, you know how much trouble it is to create a amendment. What do you have to do? You have to have 2/3 of the states to approve it in the state legislatures.
No, you have to have
3/4.
yeah 2/3 of both houses of Congress
Mhm.
Yeah.
and
And-
3/4 of the states.
And 3/4 of the states to ratify it. Okay. So,
Very difficult.
so you know how much trouble they had to go to make prohibition come into being. To get rid of prohibition had to take just as much almost. I mean,
Well, it's the same exact process. Yeah.
same exact process. And what happened is that once they made prohibition legal, or rather alcohol legal again, they didn't get rid of prohibition. The constitutional amendment's still there. Wouldn't you think they would have just thrown that amendment out?
No.
Well, they
No, they
had
got
to
another
pass
one now.
another amendment.
Yeah.
They had to pass a second amendment that nullifies the
Yeah.
first. They don't take anything out.
Yeah.
They never threw out the part about senators being appointed by state legislatures when they passed the amendment
Right,
to
correct,
have
but
a
they
vote.
don't go back and like edit the original document. The original document stays the same,
Yep.
and then they
Create a new one.
just add an amendment. I don't really.
What does it
know-
say? Well, you know what we told you 2 amendments ago? Forget it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
I don't
exactly
really
what
know
this
why
is.
they.
I liked it.
This repeals the 19th Amendment or
Yeah,
whatever.
there was some debate though about whether or not it should be done that way. Madison, for example, he was kind of in favor of going back and editing the original document. Like we should just have the original, and then when we change it, we should, like open up a Word document and erase that, and retype some new
Well,
shit.
wouldn't you just have to get rid of that amendment, period?
Yeah,
And that's all you would need to do. You didn't need to create a new amendment to
Yeah,
get rid of that
But then
other
it's not an
amendment.
amendment, because an amendment is a change to a master
Right.
document.
Yeah, so once the First Amendment was passed, it's considered a permanent part of the Constitution. Now it can never be taken away or erased. You
Right.
have to amend the Constitution. So
Right.
each document adds on forever and ever. That's what I'm saying. Madison was more in favor of like, no, let's just, like you said, cross this out, cross that out, add this, send it to the printer and have them print a new copy.
Yeah.
But he didn't win the argument. Too many people said no, that's too confusing. We want or
Gee, can we go back to how eggs are made? Because this is giving me a headache.
right.
You know.
That's what I'm saying. That's what they decided on. I don't really know if it's the best way, but that's the way they decided on. I don't even know if I have a good explanation for why, but they did.
Okay, let me bring up something I wanted to bring up tonight about fake news. Okay. Because it affected me in the last 24 hours. So I go to YouTube, which I love YouTube. I watch YouTube like crazy. How many here watch Pawn Stars?
I have
Anybody?
probably seen them all.
Uh-huh. What?
I've probably seen them all, so I stopped watching.
Me too. Me too. I like that show. It's a good little show. It's kind of the redneck version of Antiques Roadshow.
I like
Yeah.
when it's fun stuff. Yeah.
You know? Well, all of a sudden, I find out last night, if I'm looking at YouTube correctly, that Rick Harrison, who is the guy who owns the pawn shop, is the head guy there, wound up being sentenced to life in prison.
Really?
Okay. So now I looked further because I want to find out more about this. And it says that his son was sentenced to life in prison.
Oh, they do.
And then it said on another video that Chumley, a guy who works for them, wound up being sentenced to life in prison.
Yeah.
And I'm figuring, what's going on here? So I finally went on to the one thing I trust, which is the internet as a whole, and it said that it's a fake story. You know? But I wondered, how could that happen without me knowing? They seem to just put out new shows, for crying out loud. You know, but if you go online and you put in Rick Harrison, prison, whatever, Pawn Stars, half a dozen stories will come up about it.
I thought one of those guys did get in trouble, though.
Chumley got in trouble, but he
got-
pleaded guilty and he got some sentence of, money.
That was a couple years ago, I thought.
Yeah,
though.
yeah,
I don't remember.
yeah. But but I mean, and if I don't mind because Rick Harrison is a right winger, but I mean,
Lock them up.
huh?
Oh, really?
What'd you say?
You may get used to these bars. Remember Rodney?
Yeah, but gee, why would I think of a guy who runs a pawn shop as being a Trump guy? I just don't know why. Anyway. So what's new with you, Alan? We haven't asked you that in a question for a while.
No, I don't know. I just got back from Morton's Steakhouse across the bay with some friends of mine that live in Southern California, and they're up here for Easter.
Immediately when you said Morton Steakhouse, I figured you went to dinner with Phil.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to dinner with Phil next Tuesday.
Really?
Yeah, we go about every 3 months now.
Oh,
now
really?
he's got a serious girlfriend, so he's usually gone on the weekends, and that's okay. No, I mean, he's 70 and he's falling.
Well, how
in
can
love
any
with
girlfriend of Phil be serious?
Yeah.
she's also a staunch Republican like he is, and so it works out good for him. I'm happy for him.
I don't understand how anybody can be a staunch anything.
What does that mean? Like, it's like, you know what I was going to ask you?
John Birch Society, something like that.
No, a staunch Republican is an asshole. Isn't that another term for staunch Republican?
Yeah.
Actually, I have nothing against Republicans. I just have things against Trump Republicans because they're not really Republicans. They just think they are.
That's right.
Confused.
Huh?
They're confused.
Yeah, let's just write it off to confused.
Yeah. Well, I like George H.W. Bush when Trump became president the first time. He says, "Prepare the world for bad news."
There's a very good documentary, by the way, on Max, on HBO, done by, what's his name? The guy that has done a lot of great documentaries. But anyway, it's all about the buying, literally, of the Supreme Court by the right wing and how they set the whole thing up over the years. I mean, they really worked at it. And how now
Michael Moore?
Huh?
Michael Moore?
No. A good documentary filmmaker.
Oh, okay.
It's very good. It's called Dark Money. And there are 2 episodes. It's the second episode that's all about religion and the Supreme Court and the fact they filled the court with a lot of Catholics. Okay? And so that's how Roe versus Wade went by the wayside, And it's a very good documentary if you get a chance to watch it,
All you got to do is find it.
What?
All you got to do is find it.
It's on Max.
On Max.
Yeah.
He's not listening. He's not listening to the.
He
class.
doesn't listen to me. He just.
He's thinking about Tuesday night with Phil with the steak.
Let's see here.
Oh, dinner was-
At the end.
Have you
Max.
ever been to a Morton's, Tony?
My brother took me to Peter Luger's in Brooklyn, so that's probably a little better than that, I would imagine.
Hmm?
It's about the same. They're about the same.
And I'm not really a steak eater, Alex, so I only tried a little bit. I don't really like steak.
Well, they
Right.
have other things. They have, spam just for people like you.
Anyway, I can't
Look at me,
get
I'm cooking spam here.
what?
He's
Oh,
good.
sometimes he sends me things that he's cooking, Tony.
I really haven't messaged you really much, huh?
Not lately. It's been quiet. It's nice.
Are you cooking still, Tony?
Oh yeah, I cook still. Yeah, like I'll probably make a ham for Easter. And I cook some of my other stuff still.
Make a ham for
Yeah.
Easter.
I make it a ham for Easter. I got it at Stop and Shop on sale, so we'll throw
You
it
can
in the
invite me over.
I would, if you were living here, I would have you over.
Yeah, you sure would,
before
because
that-
you want to see a Jew eat ham.
Well, you're not. Well, I was gonna ask you something. Well, you eat ham. You know, you're not religious like that.
Well, you know what? People used to invite me over their house, and then they would
Yeah.
serve ham just to watch the Jew eat ham.
Checky told me you used to eat anything
And,
like
and
that.
I had to blow their anticipation away by
Why?
telling them that I love ham.
Because you eat pretty much everything. Yeah.
I mean, I have a rack of ribs sitting here waiting to be made on Saturday.
And you know what I'll do after the ham? I'll take the bone and I'll make.
By the way, they're pork ribs, they're not beef ribs. What?
I'll make split pea soup then and I'll use the ham bone then in the soup during the week.
Mm-hmm.
That I like. I really like the split pea. I use that.
Marjorie makes a great split
Yeah,
pea.
you were saying that. Yeah, I love it, Alex.
And
I'll
she
make
puts ham in there.
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
what I do.
Yeah, you should go to Tony's. Let us know if he's a good cook or not.
I used to bring Shecky food. He liked my cooking.
I
It was
think
my
Shecky
mother's
did say
recipe.
your cooking was good.
Yeah, and I used to say that's my mother's recipe. Sometimes I would ask her how to make it.
What?
He would tell me.
Wasn't Shecky's last meal at your house?
Yeah,
He loved my
just
mother.
before he died, he went to Shecky. He went to Tony's for dinner.
She told him the one time he came over, we went to a play, Alex, and he came over because it was in Queens,
Yeah.
and it was near my house. It was an off-Broadway show. And my mother said, bring him up. So my mother goes to him, if he bothers you too much, just yell at him.
Mhm.
Because he goes, your mother's nice. He goes, because I'm a pain in the ass. You can see that. You know, I'm losing sometimes.
Not you.
But she was, she didn't know who we worked for, Alex. She thought it was Johnny Carson. I said, Ma, it's Letterman. Who is that? I said, Ma, you don't watch the show. She didn't know.
Oh, by the way, another thing got to me.
Yeah.
I was talking about this the other night. Remember last Friday? I think we had somebody call this program, and they ran a terrible looking
Oh, yeah.
porn. Well, it's just an ugly looking porn. It's not like I'm homophobic or anything. It's just that I just don't want to see some guy jerking
It wasn't
off. Right?
gay, it
But
wasn't
anyway,
straight,
it's what's called Zoom bombing, and that they call Zoom things like this, and then people answer them because everybody goes into a waiting room, and then all of a sudden they pretend like they're just some person, but all of a sudden this porn hits, right? So I was griping about the fact that I always get a thing from Zoom saying, you really shouldn't let people have your address. I said, well, then how do they call me?
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah.
And I'm doing a show here where I want people to call me. How do I do that? Why can't I just simply click on the person who called and say, remove this person, block this person from ever calling me again? Well, tonight I had somebody call, I okayed somebody to be on my Facebook. And they were, trying to sell me something. And so I immediately went online to Facebook, and I blocked them. You just block them like that.
Yeah.
Why can't Zoom do that? Are they too lazy? I mean, it seems like a very simple thing you can do. That somebody calls me, I get their thing, and I go click, block, and that's all last time I'm going to hear from them. But instead, they blame me. It's all my fault. It's all on me. I'm going, that's ridiculous. Why should it be on me? Hello, Pamela.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, Peggy. Everybody said hello to you.
Anyway, so let's see. The world's come to an end. Charlie has a girlfriend. You know, and Josh, what's happening in your neighborhood now? Are they still all right wing where you are? Or are they starting to have some second thoughts about Trump?
I'm not really sure overall. I mean, I have heard some complaints, from people here and there, some comments, with tariffs and things. I don't know that everybody really agrees with that. So,
Well,
I
you
think,
just wonder why some of these people even voted for him in the first place.
yeah, I don't really understand it. I'm not sure what they thought, they were going to get. I thought it was pretty clear to us, but maybe they were
Well, in
confused and
deference
they
to
didn't
them,
understand or
didn't
something.
he sell them a bill of goods? I mean, he acted like he was going to solve everything,
Well, sure, yeah,
More money for everybody because I'm the guy on The Apprentice. I know money,
uh,
you know.
not sure why people fell for that trick twice, but they
You know
apparently did.
why? Because the last time he wasn't as bold as he's been this time. At last time, he wasn't as, how can we call it, loosey goosey with the whole thing.
He's got more
There's
power this time.
there's
Yeah.
plenty of people here that are, I still see plenty of flags up and little yard signs and stuff.
Are
I
these
mean,
Trump
I think,
flags or American flags?
oh, they're Trump flags. I mean, no one flies the American flag anymore. You fly your Trump flag, man. That's how you love your country. You love Trump. Trump is the country. So, why would you fly the American flag?
Yeah, in my neighborhood, you'd get your windows shot out flying a Trump flag.
But, I mean, I still see plenty of that. I mean, it's probably a little bit less, but, just because the election, everything's over, some people do actually, they took them, they just had it out for that. But there's still a good amount that, fly them all the time, 24/7. I've never taken them down and, probably won't. So, there's still plenty. I mean, I hear little comments here and there about, the terrorists probably not being a good idea. And, you see stories on the local media, whether it be like television or local, even like the local newspapers, like the small one in the county about, like farmers that are worried that it's going to cause, their crop not to sell this fall. And, and it's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. You guys were all out, this is what you wanted. So, if your crops don't sell, I guess you can, fucking burn them, I guess, that'd be a totally, useful thing to do with them. Let's just put them all in a great big pile and light them on fire. And we'll all sit around and, watch them fucking burn, let me know what time and I'll be there,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
but, I hear a little bit, I mean, my wife's work, is not too happy, they buy all their flowers, a lot of their flowers come from South America,
well,
I
what,
mean,
what does your wife do exactly?
she's a florist.
She's a florist.
Yeah.
Well, most of those flowers do come from South
Yeah,
America,
most of them
don't
come
they?
from South America. I don't remember. I think like where do some come from Mexico, I think, but also trying to remember where the majority of them come from. I don't think it was Brazil, but it's like maybe like Argentina and a few South American countries have
Chile, I think.
climate and soil, yeah, that are conducive to
How do
growing.
they get them up here to keep them fresh?
They fly them, most
uh,
of them, as far as I understand. Yeah.
and Howard, how do they have a way of keeping them fresh in the meantime?
Yeah, I mean they're always kept in water, and then they put them in coolers.
Refrigeration.
Yeah, refrigeration. They don't like go like freezing, but I don't remember what my mom always kept her cooler at like 42 or something, I think.
Well,
40.
like bananas, which you just don't get bananas here. They come all from wherever.
Yeah.
You
But
get
the
'em here all the
bananas, they gas them or something. They have to
Yeah,
gas
probably.
them, and then they start ripening the minute they gas them. But
I
up
think
until then, they don't stay
Oh, that's
ripe.
what
They
Bubba
don't get
said.
here ripe, right?
They
because
gas
of
'em.
because of the tariff situation, their business that she's working at. I think she said their delivery that they got today or whatever. They get the same kind of delivery, like 2-3 days a week or whatever. I guess this one was like $200 more than it normally is
Oh,
because
jeez.
tax. And I mean, which might not sound like a lot, but I mean, you're talking about a business that has 5 people working at it, and 2 of them are the owners, and then my wife who does all the florist stuff, and then they have like 2 people who work like the counters and all that kind of stuff. So, a business of 5 people is, I mean, every time they get, and this is going to be every time they buy them, right? Because the tariffs, it's not going away. I mean, no one in America can start just growing, these flowers. It takes a setup.
But there was a tariff. There was a tariff before, wasn't there?
I'm not. No, I don't. I'm not sure if there was or not. I don't think there was. Some of them might come from Mexico then, or we might have had an agreement with wherever they came from. I'm not really sure. I just know they're a lot more expensive than they used to be.
Yeah.
Dominican.
So you can't get bananas in New York?
Yeah, we get them.
Yeah. Why wouldn't we get bananas in New York? What kind of backwoods do you think this is?
We get everything.
I'm just repeating what you said. You said we can't get bananas here because they gas them.
No, I didn't say that. You see, you didn't, just pay attention.
He's on the steak dinner next week. That's what it is.
He's already thinking about his steak.
He wants
That was a great steak.
No, what I said was, I had a friend, Tony Tantillo, who was a
grocery guy. Remember you were saying that?
yeah, well, he's my friend in San Francisco, and he used to tell me all about this business of vegetables and produce and so on. And he said that they gas the what do you call it, the bananas before they send them out to a market. So you get them green, but they get ripe really fast because they gas them. Yeah, I can't remember what
I can't. They gas them to kill the spiders in them.
Yeah,
No.
the bugs.
No, they gas them to start freshening them, getting them to go right.
Well, that might happen as a side effect, but it's to definitely kill the bugs.
Really?
They put it on a conveyor belt, these big, huge bundles.
Oh, really?
Big bundles. They put it on a conveyor belt, and it goes into a thing, and they close the doors. They gas it. They open it up. They take it out. Then they take
that's to get it to start ripening.
Yeah, I know. It's
That's what I was told by Tony, and he should know what he was talking about.
I think that was years ago, though. I don't think they do that anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now they just gas them. They take them out and shake them, and all the bugs fall out of it.
How do they get them ripe? Have chickens sit on them? What?
No, they send them green, and people buy them green now. I buy green bananas.
Yeah, go to Costco. They're green bananas.
Oh no, I buy them green too, but they ripen pretty fast.
They do. They brown quick. Yeah, I got to eat.
You ever take plastic and wrap around the end of the?
No, they do that already. They do that for you.
Yeah, some of them do, some don't.
Yeah, the top of them, as long as you have that kind of the top kind of covered up or something, they do something to it.
It slows the ripening.
Yeah, it slows the ripening. Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What, Jeff?
Well, I found some information, and that is that the lady and a guy who works in New York, they have a factory in Manhattan, and they sell very, very expensive clothes for women. And the way they get the materials is from Italy. Okay. And then they send the stuff over to China, who assembles them. And then it comes back to New York, and then they ship them all over the United States. And they make a lot of money. However, Trump wants to change the rules on all of this stuff.
Right.
They said basically they would go out of business.
Really?
400 people.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that's all part of it. Hey, what a nice evening here, folks. I really appreciate your participation. It's the usual bunch, but it's a great usual bunch. Since Josh is currently in the market for more employment, we get him more often here, which is nice. And thank you so much, Kevin, for having joined us tonight out there in California. Josh, we really appreciate your participation. Alan, Nice seeing you. Great seeing you, Jeff. Charlie, so happy you got a girlfriend. And finally, the lovely and attractive Tony. Everybody give a big wave goodbye, and I'll give a big wave goodbye at you, okay? There they go, folks. That's our citizen panel for tonight. There'll be another citizen panel right here next with Amy Manuel, and she'll be taking your calls on Zoom. She has her own Zoom number, and you can go to gabnet.net, and under the Zoom thing that says Zoom, there are two names, and her name is down there, Amy Manuel, and you just click on that, and that'll take you to her show. I'll see you again tomorrow night, same time, same station in life. In the meantime, as always, as I always like to say, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Bye-bye, everybody. See you later.